You've been trying to change your life from the outside in, and it is not working. Today, on Cosmic Guidance, with me, Sharon, your host, we are going to talk about the big buzzword of, I'm going to say, of 2026, which is identity shifting. Identity shifting is not shape shifting, it's not reinvention, it is a deep internal calibration. It is the difference between wanting a different life and being the person who lives that life. In my episode, Sticks and Stones, I talked about as above, so below, how your internal world mirrors your external world. Your world is created by your belief systems, your patterns, your habits, your logic, the restrictions placed on you, which you will absorb from culture, from education, from religion, from your upbringing, from your family, from your childhood. So if you truly want to identity shift, we're going to have to alter all of these internal systems that feed your brain because your brain is creating and matching your reality. And that reality comes from your internal world. So you have to ask yourself, who are you when nobody is watching? Not who are you performing to be, not who you were told to be. Who are you actually being in the quiet moments, in the decisions nobody sees, in the thoughts running on repeat at 2 a.m.? This is the version of you that nobody sees, but this is the one that the universe responds to. It's not your vision boards, it's not your affirmation, it's not your mantras. This is your actual identity. This is the missing piece in most manifesting conversations. And it is really the one, the birth charts. Of course, I'm going to bring it back to astrology. And this is the one the birth chart has been trying to tell you all along. Did you know your most influential years of your life are up until the age of 7? So many beliefs and habits are formed during that time in your life. And you can even stretch it up to about the age 12 before puberty hits. Your identity is this background system running inside of you. So you have your current self that's built on past experiences, inherited beliefs, childhood programming, and what people told you about yourself and all the things that have happened to you. And then we have this elevated self. This is the one is, who are you becoming? What are you calling in? The version of you that already exists in the frequency that you are calling in. The version of you that already exists in the frequency that you desire. So it's the gap between this current self-concept and this elevated self-concept that things get stuck. The goal is not to like close this gap, but it's really to shift from the map that you're navigating from. So map 1, your current self-concept. Map 2 is your elevated self-concept, who you are becoming. Your birth chart is your original self-concept. It's your original map. It's your operating system. I like to think of the birth chart as actually in the body, okay? Stay with me here. So if your birth chart is your factory settings, and we know that every planet is on a spectrum, you have this birth chart. Now, in order for me to identity shift, I think about it as I can take my Jupiter in Leo and I can turn the dial. So as I turn the dial of one of the planets to shift myself on the spectrum of frequency, it will continue along my map and along the route of my life to make adjustments. You can think of this as your 2.0 version, or you can even do it by years. Like, this is going to be my year 37 upgrade. So really you want to think about this map and think about, for my identity, where do I need to shift the dials? Because it all lives inside me. Okay. We can even look at some specific placements that really, really, really tie into your identity. Your rising sign is the character your soul decided to embody in this lifetime. The sun is who you're learning to become. The moon is the emotional default running underneath all of this. Saturn shows where your identity has been most conditioned by fear and restriction. And the North Node shows the identity that you're being cosmically called into. Most people treat their birth chart like a personality test, like it's telling you who you are and that's it. But the chart is not a sentence. It is just a starting point. It's your base model settings. And you get to update the software. You get to turn the dials. You get to co-create with the universe, and this is just your starting point. There's three main reasons why identity shifting fails. One is you're affirming from the wrong identity. You're saying, I am abundant. Money flows to me with ease. But your subconscious is saying, I am not worthy about 23 hours of the day. Your affirmation fights your identity. You can't go someplace new in your car if your GPS is still programmed to your old address. Reason number two is changing the behavior without changing your story. You can change your habits all you want, but if the story underneath them has not shifted, the habits are not going to hold. Behavior follows identity, not the other way around. This is why so many people fall back into old patterns even after doing all the work. And I can tell you from working with people and wellness that you can do all the right things and get down to that perfect weight that you want to be at. But what do? They go back to the old habits as soon as they hit that. There is a maintenance stage. There's 18 months until your body like gets comfortable in the weight that you're now at. Your set point for your physical weight takes 18 months. So think about this. You need to continuously do the maintenance and do the work on yourself as your identity shifting. It's not a one and done thing. Third reason is that you don't understand the timing. And here is where astrology can be a bit of a secret weapon. There are moments when identity shifting is cosmically supported. When the transits are activating your chart in a way that makes the old identity impossible to sustain and the new one natural to step into. When you're fighting everything going on in the universe and you're trying so hard to stay and be pulled back, and the universe is going, no. I like to think about this as well with transits because planets, oftentimes, especially your outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter, they come forward and they sweep across and they make transits to your planets in your birth chart. So the first time across, it's this nice, easy, like little knock on the door of like, hey, we need you to change a few things. It's time, it's time. And then it retrogrades. And it's like, hey, have you started to make those changes? You're going to make these changes, right? And then it does the final sweep across. And if you haven't made these changes, the universe is going to make them for you. And you're not going to like that. It's usually not super pleasant, which is why most people don't really love retrogrades. They don't really know how to work with them. So the big thing is that most people don't know when these windows, these cosmic windows open for you to really take advantage of these moments to change your identity, evolve, start elevating yourself to become this new version of you for this life that you want. So most people don't understand these cosmic windows. They don't know how to be aware of them, and they don't know how to take advantage of them. And that's the key is use the tools. Use all of these tools to your advantage. That is why they are here. You have so many possibilities when you learn to work with the astrology, when you learn to work with the energies, when you learn to work with your birth chart, and you learn how to like turn those dials to start making things work for you. And really, this is what this whole series is building towards. So, your chart shows you the identity patterns that are running. Where Saturn sits tells you where your identity has been most restricted and fear based. My Saturn is in the fourth house, and I always say I never can quite figure out what feels like home. But I also feel because it's in my fourth house that I have been grounded and can't get out of Chicago. This is a terrible story to tell yourself, but I've had to turn the dial and think about it as, oh my goodness, I could do really well with real estate because Saturn's in the fourth house. Okay, maybe there's so many opportunities here, and this is why I have been put here, why I have been placed here. Maybe my energy is most needed here in this, I'm going to call this line through the US where my Saturn line rolls through. Saturn is a great planet to really look at in your chart and start working with. How can you use it versus fearing it? How can you change the story around it? This is the wise elder. What am I learning here? Okay, where your south node sits tells you the identity you're most comfortable with. It's your default energy. Even when it no longer serves you, we will often fall back into this south node energy because it's easy. But you know what else that is? That energy is leaky. Think of that as leaky energy in your chart. Do you want to do the same thing over and over? And maybe some of you do. Fabulous. Where Chiron sits tells you the wound that has been shaping your identity since childhood. So we've got Saturn, South Node, Chiron, and then you still have this rising sign. Your rising sign tells you the role that your soul chose. And it's going to tell you if you're actually playing it or are you hiding from it. When someone asks me about purpose, one of the first things I look at is your rising sign because this is where what your soul came in and like the outfit it's wearing here. Okay. So this is the role your soul chose. So you look at the sign and then you look at the ruler of that sign and where is it placed. So it just starts to give you clues as to what role am I supposed to be playing. So high level view, my rising is in Gemini. It's ruled by Mercury. So my Mercury is in the 6th house of health and service and everyday routine. It's in Sagittarius. So it is this like bigger picture energy. And one of the things I like to describe with Sagittarius is Sagittarius. So you have Aries. Aries is like jumps down into the ground, makes a dent in the world. Leo presses its hand into the ground, makes an imprint. But Sagittarius keeps walking, keeps exploring. So for me, it's to be as curious as possible. Change, change doesn't bother me. I'm like, let's go, bring it on. So for me, I see all of these possibilities, all of these things we could do. I need change in my day. I cannot do the same thing every day, all day long. Ask me about my 9 to 5 jobs. Didn't do so well. So, had I had this information when I was younger, I would have never gone into corporate world. That is not a great place for me. I did not thrive in that environment. So let's pull it back into my own philosophy, my own saying of Stardust strategy. Your identity is a frequency. The universe does not respond to what you want, it responds to who you are being. It's not about pretending to be someone you are not. The fake it till you make it is pretty terrible advice. You have to raise your frequency or adjust your tuner to match the version of you that already exists in the field of what you desire. Identity shifting is not about pretending to be someone you are not, because that's just going to pull in imposter syndrome. And your brain knows how you are internally feeling. So if you are trying to fake it, your brain's like, no, no, no. And it's going to keep trying to match you to your own internal identity. So you have to really think about working with the planets in your chart, working on these internal stories, on the beliefs, on the patterns, and you develop behaviors and patterns by your actions. And believe me, your brain is your biggest enemy, let's just be honest. Because you may be saying to yourself, I'm ready to change, I want to change. And your brain's like, I don't know, I don't fully feel it yet. So you have to almost prove your brain wrong by your own actions and habits. You've got to just like reset them in you. And when you know your planets, when you know how your identity, your initial identity has been placed here in your body in this lifetime, you can start to tweak it. So think of if I turn my Jupiter in Leo up, I have to think about what does this do to the rest of my chart? How is this affecting the fact that it sits across from my moon? These are all areas that if you know how to work with your chart, you can adjust your frequencies. Now, it's really interesting the timing connection. So, when you are really, really feeling a need for a big identity change, it's interesting because you can see that in someone's chart with the transits going around their chart. And it almost becomes impossible to sustain your old identity. I mean, there are times when the universe is literally going to push you out of your old software, your old frequencies, and into this update. When you learn to read these moments or how to really work with these moments, that is your full strategy. And that is truly where we're going with this series. So let's give you something you can actually do. Let's give you some homework. We're going to do an actual identity audit. Who am I being most of the day? Not in my best moments, but in my default moments. And just write it down without any judgment because this is going to help you identify your current identity map. What story am I telling myself running underneath everything? Okay, so it's not your conscious story of, I'm going to be a multimillionaire. Not that story. The one that plays when something doesn't go your way. That story is your current identity speaking because those are your pain points. They're things like fear, insecurity, your impatience, feeling worthless, not enough, and the list goes on and on. And all of these feed your ego. So you can think about your ego. All of these things feed your ego, your brain, to keep you exactly where you are because your brain goes, I know how to keep you safe. Shh, listen to me. We'll just keep doing it this way. So these pain points are layered underneath judgment, anger, control, pride, and let's just call it physical desires, whether it's lust, money, pleasures, things that you are controlled by. This is probably one of the most important questions because I really want you to get down to what is that pain point? Because when you understand the pain point that's layered under why you need to control every situation, why you feel the need to gossip and make someone else or cut someone else down so that you feel better. Is it because you're not feeling worthy? So if you can cut them down not to feel worthy, you'll feel better about yourself. Or you can think about the pain points of feeling insignificant or not enough. So here you are seeking approval, and this would fall under pride. But when you out there seeking someone's approval, what is the pain point that approval feeds in you? Because that is what your brain is continuing to match. So you have to get at the pain points to get at shifting of the story. So once you've identified these pain points, you can ask yourself the question, what would the version of me who already has what I'm calling in, how would you think about this situation? Would you still feel like you weren't worthy? Would you still want to gossip and maybe cut someone else down to make yourself feel better? Think about pause, pause, think about your reaction. Think about what you're doing and what story that is telling your brain so that your brain can match that in the world. After you do the audit, go ahead and pull up your birth chart. Find your rising sign. Find your north node. Your rising sign, remember, shows the character of who you came here to embody. And then your north node showing you this direction of your growth. Listen, the north node is not a final destination. These are skills, these are things you're learning, corrections to help you in this life. No one's going to master their north node. And you're not supposed to, okay? But if you can figure out who are you here to embody, that rising sign, and how you can continuously grow, you're going to be able to shift between the current self concept and your elevated self, your concept, your new identity. So, really, the hardest part about this homework is going to be identifying those pain points, and it's not going to be easy when you have to like really step back and look at yourself in that light. So be patient with yourself. Know that identity shifting and changing your story and calling in what you truly desire is a process. It is not an overnight thing. You're not going to read one book and have this incredible new life forever. It is constant work. It's a practice, it's a recalibration, it's a choice you're going to have to make over and over again to navigate this more elevated map. And here's the thing, you're going to get to this elevated map and then things are going to change again because you're going to want more because You are so very, very blessed, and you should always be reaching for more. What makes kind of my version maybe a little different or hopefully helps you is that you have a cosmic map, your birth chart, okay? And it shows you exactly your default identity and what you're being called to grow into instead. So, next week, we're going to go into the birth chart itself and we're going to look at why it's not your destiny. It's not a fatalist tool, okay? It's your starting point and how to start reading it as an identity tool that it was always meant to be. So, if you liked this episode, please like and subscribe. I have a Substack, and there I go into more detail. So I highly recommend subscribing to the Substack, and that way you can dive deeper into what I am saying here. You can also book a birth chart reading with me and or a cosmic guidance session. It is really, really good if you know your birth chart though. So I would highly recommend it because in my sessions, I usually give you by the end something you can be working on, something that's really relevant to you and your goals right now. So please like and subscribe, leave a comment. If there's something you want me to go more into, please put it down below. I tend to mix astrology and spirituality. Have you realized it yet? Because we're so much more complex. So please like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next week.